what point this stream goes live, but this will officially begin our first tour stop in Alhambra. And welcome to the Bite Back Tour. I'm going to give this feed a couple more seconds before it continues. I'm going to go ahead and make sure our live stream is ready, and it looks like it is. And let me just refresh. And I think we are good. All right, so welcome everyone to the Bite Back Tour. My name is Levy Sun. I'm the Public Information Officer at the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. We'll get started in about a minute here, but let's have everyone else kind of introduce themselves. Pablo.
Yeah, my name is Pablo, and I'm the Communications Specialist at the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District.
And then in the field, we have two folks. Ali, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ali Gaspar, the Outreach Assistant.
And then we have Dane. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dane Militich. I am a Vector Control Specialist, too. I work with a couple different cities, one of them being Alhambra.
Very cool. So we're just getting started, folks. If you just tuned in, we were just introducing ourselves. We got myself, Levy, Pablo, Ali, and Dane, who's from operations in the field. And if you are also just joining us, if you have a separate device or if you're on your browser, go ahead and head over to slido.com and look for or input the event code SGVMosquito. That way you can start interacting with us and submit any questions you may have for us as we go through this tour stop in Alhambra. Also joining us, I see we have our trustee from the city of Alhambra, Trustee Stephen Sham. If you are available, you can go ahead and introduce yourself briefly, Trustee Sham. If not, that's all right. Oh, okay, go ahead. I see you're unmuted.
Good morning. This is Stephen Sham from Alhambra, former mayor and city council members, now as a trustee on the board. And welcome everyone for attending this special tour, virtual tour. Hopefully you can get as much information as possible. And my understanding is we're gonna put this on the YouTube, so people can see it, even though if they don't have a chance to join us today, right now. And hopefully we can, well educated and send the information to our community to fight the mosquitoes in the summer coming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Trustee Sham. And you're definitely more than welcome to stay for our full tour stop, or you can leave whenever you like. This is going to be a very informal discussion we're all going to have here.
Yes, as I mentioned, I do have engagement appointments at the same time, so I might have to. I mean, I hang on as much as possible, and if people have questions, the best way to do it is to call the districts. Those are people that have a professional knowledge about how to fight the mosquitoes, and we are, as a trustee, is to get information and try to pass along to our community. So to fight the mosquitoes, call the districts, and we will try our best to bring information back to our communities. So it's a two-way street, and hopefully we have a safe and wonderful years come.
Absolutely agree, Trustee Sham. I'm crossing our fingers this year will be like last year, where we had no human cases in San Gabriel Valley, as long as people stay vigilant against mosquitoes. So let's go ahead and get started right now. We're about 3 minutes in. We'll give Dane an opportunity in a second to just kind of talk about some of the work he does in Alhambra. He's actually one of our vector control specialists whose zone covers Alhambra. But let's get you associated and acquainted with Slido. So if you get a chance, use your smartphone camera to scan the QR code, or head over to slido.com on the browser, type in the event code SGVMosquito, and let's give this a shot. This is our first time running this tour stop here with this kind of interactive tool. So I'm going to throw out a first question. This is an icebreaker question. Has nothing to do with mosquitoes, but everything to do with all of us here in LA and LA County. So first question that you'll probably see on your phone is the Dodgers will win the next World Series. So if you believe that is true, you'll hit yes. If it's a no, you'll hit no. Or if you just don't care about sports, then hit I don't care. This is just a way for us to get some feedback from you all. You don't have to participate. It is completely optional, but it allows us to get some feedback from you if you're here to engage with us. All right, we have a couple responses here. So very cool. All right, thank you for participating. Let's dive right into it. When it comes to talking about mosquitoes in Alhambra, we always like to look at the bigger picture of not just San Gabriel Valley, but just throughout the country and around the world. And that's this concept of an ecosystem. Now, Pablo, Ali, what do you guys think of when I say ecosystem? What do you think most people think about? And I'll start with Pablo first.
I usually think of the ocean, just something, massive where there's so many things living together and so many environments happening at the same time.
All right, how about you, Ali? What do you think most people think when the word ecosystem gets thrown out there?
I think a lot of people think mainly jungles, a lot of very dense vegetation, humidity, a lot of different wildlife present as well.
And that's all true. And that's actually something that ties into biodiversity. And the fact that we have a very strong penchant to want something that's biodiverse in our city is normal. But if you think about it as well with ecosystems, it really can also pertain to where we are around our home. Your home environment, your front yard, your backyard, even the patio outside of your apartment can be considered its own little ecosystem. And everything you do, everything we do has a major impact on this smaller ecosystem, including impact on not just the mosquitoes, but also the beneficial insects that buzz around our yards, butterflies, bees, and other critters. So let's talk a little bit about maybe the one creature that really pesters us the most, and that's the mosquito itself. Now, Pablo, Ali, how many of you actually learned about mosquito biology in detail in school? I mean, Ali, I'll let you start with that.
Unfortunately, I didn't learn anything about mosquito biology in school. I really wish I had, because it's such an important part of our daily life every time we step outside and walk out the door.
And then Pablo, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Ali. I didn't really know anything about mosquitoes other than, that they constantly would bite me, which I felt was really rude of them. But I didn't really learn anything about mosquito biology up until I was started working at the district and really understood. I remember in the early 2000s, the whole West Nile virus scare, and that was kind of my first introduction to what mosquitoes were. But even then, I don't remember knowing really anything about their life cycle or that they need stagnant water. That was all still very new to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's take a quick poll then about how people think about the mosquito issues around their home. Because I mean, same here. I didn't learn a whole lot about mosquitoes in detail, not until maybe college and maybe even coming here to mosquito control. But I kind of want to get a gauge of how people perceive mosquitoes now around their home. And while I'll go ahead and throw up the Slido poll now, how would you rate the mosquito problem around your home? 1 star being just absolutely terrible, you're getting bit up left and right, or 5 stars, things are perfect, it's bite free. While you guys are inputting your answers, kind of want to give Dane an opportunity to talk about kind of like some of the work he does or things that he may see around his zone. So Dane, want to just jump in and just chat about some of the places where you do see mosquito issues?
Yeah, for sure. So working in the city of Alhambra, I do a lot of property inspections and investigate, service requests and stuff when people report a lot of bites or a lot of mosquito activity. And a lot of the stuff that I see in Alhambra are the problem sources have mainly been storm drains in the driveways and miscellaneous sources on people's properties. So containers, plant saucers, fountains, fish ponds, stuff like that. And one of the things about Alhambra is, since it has such a dense population, there's a lot of apartment and townhome complexes, and the way that the streets were engineered is that the driveways sit below the street level, and so when it rains or someone washes their car or anything, the water has to drain to somewhere. So a lot of these properties have these drains, and the water sits there year round, and it's the perfect breeding grounds for mosquitoes. So there's hundreds and hundreds of these drains on people's properties, and people don't know that they're there because they don't see them. But this is one of the main sources in Alhambra that we have to monitor consistently, because they are always breeding year round. So that, coupled with miscellaneous sources on people's properties, things that people don't typically notice, or they're not paying attention, containers and plant saucers, they contain a lot of breeding. So I always try to educate residents to make sure they're monitoring their yard and pouring out any stagnant water. But you got to look real closely sometimes, because that stuff's hidden away in the corner of the yard. So yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree, Dane. And Alhambra today isn't what it was back when it was first founded. And even when the first folks started coming through San Gabriel Valley back in 1700s to settle into this valley, they were here for something else. They were here for the gold, the farming potential. Little did they realize, fast forward to today, we are an urban concrete jungle. And a lot of the mosquitoes that we see today were not really around back then. And more specifically, I'm talking about the newer invasive mosquitoes that thrive in our urban habitat, called Aedes mosquitoes. Now, it's not Aedes as in the decade, but Aedes as in Aedes. These are black and white striped mosquitoes, and unfortunately, many of you have come to know the Aedes mosquito, not so much by their black and white stripes or their name, but it's really through their biting habit. So they tend to bite very, very aggressively during the day. Now, let's see. So if you just joined us, we are here for a tour stop in Alhambra in our Bite Back tour. There's me, I'm one of your co-hosts, Levy's son. We have Pablo Cabrera, who's a co-host, Ali Gaspar, who's in the field, and we have Dane, who represents operations department. He's also here with us, but I noticed just joining us as well is Jung, who's from our surveillance department. I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself a bit. And then also trustee Stephen Sham, who's our trustee for Alhambra, is also here with us as well. Let's circle back to you, Jung. Jung, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Absolutely. I hear and I can see that you're actually in the field there. Why don't you just introduce yourself a bit and the department you're in?
Hi, I'm Jung. I'm in surveillance. So a lot of my job is to set up mosquito traps. I don't know if you can see that, but I have a Gravid Trap set out here all around Alhambra and the other parts of the district to see how the mosquito populations are doing at the time.
Very cool.
Sorry, this camera.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's it's called Gravid Trap, right?
Yes.
So with the Gravid Trap, I mean, is it supposed to just bring in the mosquitoes and you just put them in a bag and send it out for testing? Is that pretty much how it works?
Yeah, so it's set up basically just like a fan inside of a box. And then we have some hay water, which is just some like water that's had some hay or straw sitting in it for a couple days. So that attracts the mosquitoes, and then the fan inside of the box sucks them up into like another bag that's inside the box. And then that's what we grab and bring back to the lab.
You know, what's funny about these traps is every time I hear there's a mosquito trap out there, it just can't help but wonder like how much labor it goes into just managing these traps. Because I see that you talk about hay water. So you're not only transporting these actual like what looks like bucket and a fan, but also the water itself. So how often do you usually trap a site out in the field?
Some traps we trap every week, especially once it gets warmer, and some is every other week. It depends on how many mosquitoes we get in that area.
That's very interesting. And what's really nice about the trap that you guys set out is we get a lot of data from it. In fact, a lot of data can influence what we determine to be high-risk cities or areas where we see active transmission of West Nile virus, or some of the data can actually go towards helping out people like Dane with his work. Because a lot of times I hear that those in operations will use the data from surveillance to help guide them, not just around San Gabriel Valley, but even within Alhambra, where to go. Is that kind of about right, Dane? Summary of what you use with the surveillance data? Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So definitely something we keep an eye on is the mosquito numbers from the traps, and also we keep an eye on, we monitor whether the mosquitoes are coming back with West Nile positives or anything, because if we find that out, then that can dictate a response strategy. So it's important to keep an eye on the trap numbers, and it's really important for our overall strategy.
Right, exactly. And then a lot of times we take that data and that information and we communicate it to people in Alhambra, including our trustee Sham, who gets regular communication from us. And as he said from the very beginning of this tour stop, that he is one of the liaisons who will help take that information and take it to the city to help make sure more residents are aware of what's going on regarding mosquito issues. So very cool. Thank you for showing us. And yeah, anything else, Pablo or Ali?
Dane, just a quick follow-up question, because I know we get a lot of questions from residents. I know a lot of people call in for public sources, whether they have a storm drain or a wash behind them or something. But based on your experience being out in the field with service, what have you seen? Do you see more sources, whether they be at residential homes or large public sources, like at a storm drain or something?
It really depends, because a lot of the times when people call for service requests, they're just saying that they're noticing a high mosquito activity or they're being bitten a lot. Sometimes people report specific sources, but a lot of times I've been noticing that when I do the canvassing for these service requests, I'm just finding miscellaneous sources in other people's yards or in their yards, or stuff people don't notice. They're pretty much unaware that it's there. And so that's why it takes some very careful investigation to find this stuff, because the mosquitoes always seem to go where your eyes aren't, basically. So yeah, we do keep an eye on all these very large sources, flood channels, underground storm drains in the streets. We do have teams dedicated to inspecting those and treating those if necessary. So
Dane, I'm actually glad you pointed out the underground storm drains, because a lot of residents in Alhambra would ask us, well, don't mosquitoes just fly away or die off in the winter? And we always say, we wish they did, because otherwise it would not be a year-round operation, especially with our underground storm drains. So to all those who are watching, especially for those who are in Alhambra, if you ever see our crews working in the middle of the street, popping open those storm drains and looking in, they're not looking down there for fun. They're actually looking for mosquitoes in those underground storm drains, because while it's nice and cool above ground, or even cold above ground during the winter, or even sometimes in the spring, it can be really warm and humid down below in those underground storm drains where mosquitoes can thrive. So even in the dead of winter, folks like Dane and other folks from operations are hard at work plugging away at those storm drains. All right, so speaking of, I know Danny touched on some sources that are quite common, like the saucers and buckets, but something I do want to have us query the audience on is, let's see, something about dense vegetation, because I know we get this a lot. We get a lot of residents who are very aware of standing water, stagnant water around their home and their neighborhood, but what they may not be aware of is how something like ivy or dense vegetation can really impact the mosquitoes in a neighborhood. So I opened up a Slido poll here. So if you're on slido.com and you head over to the event code or type in the event code SGVMosquito, you'll get to participate in this poll. It is completely optional. And we're now, if you just joined us, we're currently doing the Bite Back tour stop in Alhambra. On the panel here with me is myself, Levy's son, Pablo, Ali, who's reporting in the field. I see the arch behind you at the park. Ali, what park are you at?
I'm at Gateway Park in Alhambra off of Fremont Avenue.
That's it. Yeah, so that's where she's at. And then we have Dane representing operations on our panel. And then we have Jung representing surveillance here as well. And of course, our very own trustee from Alhambra, trustee Stephen Sham here. So we're just asking people just to gauge what percentage of dense vegetation is in and around your neighbor's front yards. And it looks like a lot of people have mentioned about 50%, and that's quite high. And for those of you wondering, well, what does the green have anything to do with anything with mosquitoes? Well, unfortunately, dense vegetation, especially if you have something like ivy, it can provide safe harborage or resting sites for adult mosquitoes. So if you look at these pictures here that Pablo's sharing, even though the pictures are show no stagnant water anywhere, there's a very high likelihood, especially when it's a little warmer, you'll have adult mosquitoes resting in some of these plants. Because mosquitoes are terrible at regulating their body temperature. So to beat the heat, they have to seek refuge in some of these cooler areas. And that could be very well in the dense vegetation around your neighborhood. So we advise residents to at least scale back a lot of the dense vegetation, like bushes, low hanging bushes, or even ivy, and increase the airflow through the leaves. So that way it dries it out a little bit more and you have less chances of mosquitoes resting in the foliage. Anything else to add, anyone? Feel free to jump in.
To add to that, Levy, one common thing that I personally have always noticed is if I'm out in my yard sometimes, especially over the summer months, watering the grass and I approach my fence where there's kind of more plants around there or covering from a tree, as soon as I start to pour water, I do see stuff, flying out. And now I know, I'm like, oh, those are mosquitoes that are resting there. Well, before I just thought that, they were just some type of insect, but now I know like those are just mosquitoes that are just kind of hanging out because it's too hot.
Absolutely. And, if people are wondering what kind of alternatives that you may use, and let's say you want to get rid of maybe your dense vegetation. So what can you use? What can you do? Well, luckily, California native plants are a big option, and it's been a really popular option with many residents. A lot of our residents who found out that their ivy or their dense bushes or their Jurassic Park of a yard is attracting mosquitoes, they end up just cutting it back or removing it and replacing it with California native plants, which require a lot less irrigation, so you save water, and they can thrive very well in our current climate. I believe we have a good partner, or several partners that tout California native, including Upper Water District, our Walnut Valley Water District, and even Theodore Payne Foundation. Those are some of the organizations that we've worked with in the past that have really been vital to guiding our residents as to what they can plant in their yard to make sure that it stays more bite-free. Anything else anyone wants to add regarding that?
Hi, this is Allie. I would like to add as well that funny story that my mom also has been getting a bunch of mosquitoes hiding in her ivy. And one of the solutions that she's made was to take out the ivy and start replacing them with California native plants. And she was a bit concerned about the aesthetic of her garden, but it actually ended up working really beautiful. And she was able to get a lot of beneficial animals to come around too.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on that because it does increase the biodiversity of our current ecosystem here. So yeah, the California native plants, if you're even if you don't care about the whole mosquito issue, just having California native plants can improve the overall health of your neighborhood in many ways.
Question for Jung, when you guys are setting up the traps for the mosquitoes, don't you guys usually set them around large shaded areas or around bushes and stuff?
Yeah, we definitely try to. We tend to get better numbers when we set them near bushy areas as opposed to just in the sun.
That makes sense.
Got a lot of birds around you.
Yeah, in quite the area, Jen. Love it. Let's go ahead and move on to, with some time that we have left, move on to repellents. I know repellents are always a big topic when we do presentations, so we want to kind of query folks right now. So if you are on Slido with us, feel free to answer this question. What repellent ingredient do you use when you're outside? Now, there are many different ingredients out there, but these are the 4 that have been Pablo, let me go ahead and continue sharing that poll real quick. That way, people get a chance to answer that question here.
Levy, I see, sorry, on my side, I see why do we need to use hay water on the slide?
Oh, let me see what happened there. Let me make sure.
While Levy, oh, there you go. There it goes.
Okay. All right. Is the right survey showing?
Yes, now I see it.
Okay. So what ingredient or repellent ingredient do you use? Now, we know a lot of people use different types out there, but these are the 4 ingredients that have been EPA registered and CDC recommended as being effective against mosquitoes and also other biting critters like ticks and possibly even fleas, depending on which ingredient and product you use. It looks like it's pretty equal between oil of lemon eucalyptus or PMD, picaridin, and DEET. Now, I am personally, I don't like DEET back maybe 5 years ago, but I think it's been improved a lot in its formulation. It used to be really oily on your skin, but some of these companies have finally formulated it so it actually smells better and it doesn't leave a weird sticky residue. Oil of lemon eucalyptus is another one that's also been pretty popular, or called PMD. And it's the one that a lot of people reach for nowadays when it comes to plant-based or quote unquote natural repellents, and it works very well against mosquitoes. So if you're a fan of oil of lemon eucalyptus or PMD, as some of these manufacturers may call it, definitely reach for that. Picaridin is another good one. IR 3535 is fairly new. It's a little more popular in Europe, but it's making some roads into our market every single year. But it's got some stiff competition, it appears, with DEET and oil of lemon eucalyptus.
Yeah, I feel like I see IR 3535 more at the sporting goods stores.
You know, I really wish I could like oil of lemon eucalyptus. I like the smell, but whenever it gets on my skin, it just for some reason just irritates it. It's a bummer because the smell is great, but it just ends up feeling like it's burning my skin. All right, go ahead and share any slide you got, Pablo, because we got this slide out of the way. But yeah, when it comes to repellents, there's some misconceptions out there we just want to tackle in the few minutes we have left in this tour stop. I'll just throw out one that I hear often, and using a fan on your belt, having a little clip-on belt fan, that can work. However, it only works around the area where that fan is blowing air out of and where that effectiveness is going. If you're outside where there's plenty of wind, it's going to take that effectiveness all the way down and away from you. Has anyone heard of any other possible misconceptions or things that don't quite work?
I've heard of using a dryer sheet in your hat to protect you against mosquitoes.
I've heard that as well, or even rubbing it on your skin. So, by rubbing it on your skin or putting it on you, it does help, block a little bit of that scent that you give off from sweating and breathing, but it doesn't completely protect you all the way, unfortunately. The best repellent is obviously the one that you're going to use and apply on your exposed skin. Has anyone heard of any other repellents that we can possibly address?
I heard you could put mud on your face and it'll block. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, if you're putting mud all over, I think you'll be you'll repel the mosquitoes, but also other people as well. So.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Levy, one of my favorites by my grandma is Vicks. That Vicks cures all, especially mosquito bites.
And I think I've heard Vicks as well, Vicks vapor rub apparently. There's no research yet that has proven that to be true, unfortunately, but maybe for some folks, they just like that smell and yeah.
You'll make a lot of abuelas happy if that is true, but see anything happening.
All right, we're rounding around the half-hour mark. So I just want to recap again what we were here in Alhambra virtually and actually in person with Ali there at the arch there. My name is Levy's son. We got Pablo, Ali, Dane, Jung, and of course our trustees from Alhambra, Trustee Stephen Sham. And we just wanted to make sure that we give you just some time out of your day to tune in, hear what we're all about, and learn a little bit more about mosquitoes. This isn't technically a one-stop shop for everything, so I do invite you to go to bitebackchampion.org to learn more about mosquitoes. Definitely reach out to us if you have any questions. And I just want to go ahead and give some airtime to Trustee Sham if he has any closing words for our viewers.
Well, thank you so much. I think we have a lot of information throughout this 20 minutes or so. But again, if our residents or community members have any questions, please contact our district so that we can help them. And meanwhile, we can, as the spring comes and we see a mosquito comes, and you'll probably be aware of, okay, so we need to take care of some of the standing waters. So hopefully we can do our part to solve these problems and try to limit it. Again, thank you so much for watching. And if you have a question, do call the district and for help. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Sham. And for those of you who are watching who want to be more involved with mosquito control and you have a very high level of volunteerism and you want to engage with your residents, definitely sign up for our Bite Back program. It's a way to engage with your neighbors and with us and your city. And we work together to come up with sustainable mosquito control solutions just for your neighborhood. So we're not gonna lecture to you. We're gonna work with you to find ways to get your neighborhood to be more bite-free. So you can sign up at our website. You can call us at the number shown on the screen, 626-814-9466. Or you can even email us at outreach@sgvmosquito.org. And with that, I'll go ahead and give the rest of my team any other last parting words before we sign off.
Not a parting word exactly, more like a little parting surprise for all the residents watching. This is just a quick reminder. I have here in the back of the truck here, just some sources to be aware of in your yard. Remember to tip, toss, and protect yourselves against mosquitoes. And then also I have some repellent options here.
Very cool. Wow. Very cool. Nice setup, Ali. That's quite the surprise. And you set it up all out in the field there in Alhambra. All right, anything else, Pablo, Dane, or John, before we sign off?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for watching, and please remember to protect yourself with repellent, because even though it's the beginning of the year or beginning of the season, we are seeing mosquitoes in those traps.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and then I'll just add real quick, you know, always after it rains, be very cognizant, try to go through your yard and look in every nook and cranny for water, because I was at my parents' house the other day and I found a bunch of stagnant water from the rain, and I told them, come on, you guys gotta be more on this. You got a son that's in mosquito control, so you know. But yeah, anyways, just make sure you're mindful of what's in your yard. If you don't need any of these containers or things in your yard, just try to remove them or turn them upside down, one of the two, and it'll help a lot, honestly.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing, Dave.
I definitely, just reiterating what everyone just said, I think it's important everyone just doing our own part. Just like we've seen everything during this pandemic, we all have an opportunity to create change in our own community. So if our neighbors are doing it, that can create a lot of coverage on protecting each one of us from mosquitoes.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you all for watching. We hope this will be the first of many other tourist stops, hopefully in the future, for Alhambra. We look forward to working with you residents and also with the city. Thank you all so much, and stay bite-free and stay healthy, everyone.